My husband, 34-year-old male, and my parents, both 70 years old, had yesterday. Background. We are first-time parents to a 3-month-old baby. The adjustment to parenthood was rough, and we finally feel like we've started to get a hang of the whole parenting thing. My mother's always been obsessive about cleaning. She is also extremely controlling and will absolutely lose her temper if you challenge her on anything. It's her way or the highway, and always has been since I was a kid. She dictated the mood of the household and would give us the silent treatment for days if we did something out of line. It was very emotionally hurtful. Because we have a 3-month-old baby, the house isn't spotless, but it's not a disaster by any means. There were toys on the floor and some burping cloths thrown around, but they could be picked up pretty quickly, and the house would look very presentable. My mom came by with my dad earlier in the week, and as soon as she came in the living room, she looked absolutely disgusted. It was as if we had insects crawling around the floor. She barely talked and made very little eye contact with me, and I could feel the disdain emanating from her. The visit was very awkward, and I was glad when they went home. A day or two later, she offers to come help me clean up. It's never, "Hey, we see you're struggling, we want to help," but more so used as social currency to get what they want later. They have secondhand embarrassment at the state of my house and view it as a reflection of them. Keep in mind, I'm nearly 40 years old with a 6-figure income, and by all accounts, pretty successful and independent. They helped me with my down payment for the house. It was my inheritance. So they feel like they own it, even though it's in my name. And I pay for everything. My husband and my parents have always had a rocky relationship. My husband is very outspoken and can be blunt at times, which I love about him. He is wonderful to me and treats me like a queen. We love each other so much, and it's obvious to anyone in the room that we have a solid, loving friendship relationship. He is so wonderful with our baby boy and is a hands-on father who juggles a full-time job and being an involved parent. He doesn't take nonsense, ever, which I think is the root of the issues between him and my parents. They aren't used to anyone questioning their authority. So when he showed up on the scene, it was volatile from the beginning. My father pesters my husband via text to do things around the house. For example, "Are you going to mow the lawn? You need to do it today because it's going to rain all weekend." My husband has always viewed this as very odd and overbearing, but is diplomatic when answering him. Things came to a head yesterday after my husband had requested my parents come at 11, but they came an hour earlier. My husband stayed up until 4:30 with the baby to give me an extra hour to sleep. We take shifts, even though he was exhausted. I told my parents they could come on the condition that they would be quiet and work on things outside before cleaning the inside. There was a lot of going in and out of the house, and this woke my husband up. When my husband came down, he asked if there was a reason why they came an hour early and then asked them to respect boundaries by coming when he isn't sleeping. My mother went crazy when he said this. She screamed, "We just cleaned your house." And then my dad chimed in by saying my husband was acting like a king for making this request. Things escalated from there. My husband asked them to leave and they refused, stating, "We can come to our daughter's house when we want." Both my husband and my parents started yelling, and I was holding the baby and covering his ears so he couldn't hear what was happening. My mother then throws a full roll of paper towels at my husband. He says he's going to call the police if they don't go, and they finally leave. I wanted my baby to have a relationship with his grandparents, but I just know that when I'm not there, they will be talking negatively about his father to him. This is super damaging, and I won't have my child exposed to that. We are exhausted and had relied on my parents to give us a couple of break days throughout the week, but I honestly don't think I can bring him to their house unsupervised. I have a lot of trauma from my childhood and find it very difficult to have any kind of confrontation with my parents. It always just makes things worse. Where do we go from here? What should I do? Are we in the wrong? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, OP, please. You know what you have to do. I guarantee that the instant your back is turned, your child will be subjected to an unending stream of negative criticism about their father and mother. Not to mention screaming and ranting directed at the child because they put a cup down in the wrong place or a diaper leaked. The best time to set boundaries is when they are needed. The second best time is right now. You call up your mother and tell her, "Your behavior in our home was unacceptable. My family expects a full apology. What happened yesterday will never happen again." or I'll be forced to limit my family's exposure to you. Once you get that apology and commitment to behave themselves in your home, you start laying more boundaries. And remember, every interaction with them is as a family. Full stop. You're not calling because your husband is upset. You're calling because both of you, working as a team, decided on the next steps. Comment 2. I love that your husband has a strong personality and won't take any shoot. But guess what? That likely means he won't put up with your weak backbone when it comes to your parents for a lot longer. You have a husband who treats you like a queen and is a partner in raising your child. Yet you're prioritizing your parents who talk and treat both of you like shoot? Your husband is way too lenient with you. You should have stuck to strict boundaries a long time ago. The fact that you still want your child to have these toxic grandparents in their life is so out of touch with reality. You say you have trauma from your childhood. Are you eager to have your child be raised with that trauma too? Geez, get it together. Now, for the update. Hi Reddit, a lot has happened since my last post. After the blowout with my parents, things cooled down for a bit. My husband and I decided to set firm boundaries with them, which included no unannounced visits and respecting our family time. It seemed to work, or so I thought. My dad, who's always been the quieter one, started showing a side of him I never knew. He began sending passive-aggressive texts, not just to my husband, but to me as well. He'd say things like, "Hope the house isn't too messy for the baby," or "A good parent makes sacrifices." It was like he was trying to guilt trip us into apologizing for standing our ground. Then, my best friend since childhood, let's call her Sarah, got involved. She's always been the mediator, but her involvement only made things worse. Sarah started relaying messages from my parents, saying they were just worried about us and the baby. She didn't see the controlling aspect. She saw it as concern. I should have seen it coming, but I trusted her. One day, Sarah came over under the guise of wanting to help out. She started cleaning, which was nice, until I realized she was snooping through our thing. She found some financial documents and must have told my parents about them because the next thing I know, my dad's texting me about how we were mishandling our money. It was a breach of trust I couldn't overlook. The situation escalated when my husband lost his job. The company he worked for went under and we were left scrambling. My parents saw this as an opportunity. They offered to help us financially, but with strings attached. They wanted to move in temporarily to help with the baby and expenses. My husband was against it, but I was torn. We needed the help, and I thought maybe this could be a chance to mend fences. I made the call to let them move in. It was the wrong choice, but I didn't know it then. My husband was furious, and it caused a rift between us. My parents took over the house, criticizing our parenting, our lifestyle, and even our marriage. It was like living with two judgmental landlords rather than family. The final straw came when I found out my mother had been talking to a lawyer about grandparents' rights. She wanted to ensure they could see their grandson regardless of what happened between us. It was a move that shocked me to my core. I felt betrayed and manipulated. My husband and I had a long, hard talk. We realized that we couldn't live like this anymore. We decided to take out a loan and asked my parents to leave. It was a tough decision, but it was the only way to regain control of our lives and protect our son from the toxic environment. They left, but not quietly. There were accusations and tears, and my relationship with them is now more strained than ever. Sarah sided with them, saying I was ungrateful and had changed. I lost my best friend and my parents in one fell swoop. Now we're trying to rebuild. It's not easy, and the financial strain is real, but at least we have our peace. My husband and I are working on our relationship, and I'm learning to stand up for myself and my family. It's a hard lesson, but one I needed to learn. Thanks for reading. Aita for leaving my wife and kids after finding her cheating clues in her car. We were married for 7 years. We have 2 kids, one 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. We were happily married. A few hours ago, I found her panties and an open condom sachet while I was cleaning our vehicles. It was in her car under the passenger seat. The condom isn't mine, and I don't have that kind of kink, having intimacy in a car. I was initially heartbroken, but I wasn't so shocked. I'm just sad and disappointed right now. I haven't confronted her about this. Good thing she is on a 1-week business trip right now, so I have time to sort my feelings. Currently, she is the breadwinner because I quit my job during the pandemic and took the role of a house husband to take care of her and our kids. She's in no position to quit her job because she holds a very important role as one of the division chiefs in one of our government agencies. So she travels a lot and is very busy. She's married to her job. I selflessly chose and swallowed my pride to sacrifice myself because my job wasn't paying that well compared to hers. She was in a better position than me. Choosing that path was the best choice for our family. Not for me, but for my family. I have my own business, and it hasn't quite gained a lot of attention. Right now, I'm torn if I should leave the house with the kids and go to my aunt's house for a while. But I don't want to add to her problems because she is sickly old. In our country, there is no divorce, but adultery is a crime. If I file for adultery, that would mean I would ruin her career and put her in jail, and the well-being of our kids would also be in jeopardy. Adultery is no joke here. Everyone will know and talk about it for quite a while, and I don't want my kids to experience that kind of pain. Should I just suck it up and continue being a pushover? Keep it a secret and continue being a loving husband and a loving father to our kids? Or should I be selfish for one, taking back my pride as a man and breaking my family? I don't care what happens to me. All I want is for my kids to be happy and grow with a mom and dad because I haven't experienced growing up with parents. She is indeed a good mom for the kids. This is probably one of the saddest things that have ever happened to me after my mom and dad died. Edit. I forgot to mention that they do a lot of business and social activities and seminars every now and then. Like, for example, hosting events for executives and politicians, which extends to evening socials. She would come home late most of the time. Before her flight, they had a social night gala. My kids made a mess of the car going back home after we sent her off to the airport in the morning. I found out after cleaning their mess when we got home. Edit. I couldn't use my car due to maintenance, so I had to use her car for a while. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not once in this entire passage did you talk about your feelings, what you want, and what's best for you. It was all considerations for other people's feelings. That needs to change, broski. Your kids learn from you, and that has far-reaching implications for everything they do and will experience in life. Do you want them to follow your example and lead unhappy lives at the expense of others? Unhappy parents are just as detrimental to their health as having a parent who is a known cheater. I could understand if you were conflicted about staying because you wanted to work things out, but this passage reads as if the only reason you would do so is for her sake. Comment 2. Right before she comes home, leave panties and a condom wrapper on the counter for her. Don't greet her, don't rush to the door. More than likely, she is cheating on you while she is away for work too. After she finds the panties and comes to you to try to apologize, just ask her why. Don't yell or do anything, don't leave. It's your house too. Don't try to trash her life. She did that to herself. Just tell her you are done. Lawyer up, respect yourself. You are the victim here. Things will get better for you. Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around. So here's what went down. After I found those things in her car, I was a mess, but I kept it together for the kids. Then, my so-called friend, let's call him Mark, started acting weird. He was always around offering help, but something was off. I didn't think much of it until one day. I caught him snooping through my business papers. When I confronted him, he shrugged it off, saying he was just curious about how I was managing. But I didn't buy it. A week later, my wife came back from her trip. I hadn't said a word about the condom and panties. But then, Mark did something unforgivable. He told my wife about the things I found, but twisted the story, making it sound like I was accusing her left and right. He said he was trying to mediate, but it was clear he was stirring the pot. My wife was furious, thinking I'd been talking behind her back. We had a huge fight, and she admitted to a one-time mistake. It was a colleague from one of those late-night socials. She was remorseful, but the trust was broken. I was angry, not just at her, but at Mark for making things worse. Things got even more complicated when I found out Mark had been trying to sabotage my business. He'd been spreading rumors that I was struggling because I couldn't handle it. He wanted in on the business, trying to use my personal crises as leverage. I was livid. I cut him off right there and then. No more Mr. Nice Guy. I told him to stay away from my family and my business. But the drama didn't stop there. My wife's colleague, the one she had the fling with, his wife found out. She went ballistic, causing a scene at one of those high-profile events my wife organized. It was a scandal. My wife's job was on the line, and with no divorce option, we were stuck in a limbo of shame and gossip. I had to think about the kids. I couldn't let them grow up in a home full of lies and betrayal. So I made a call to my aunt, despite her being sickly, and she agreed it was best for us to stay with her for a while. I packed our bags, took the kids, and left. My wife didn't stop us. I think she knew it was for the best. The aftermath was tough. My wife was suspended from her job, pending an investigation. I started focusing on my business, and surprisingly, without Mark's negative influence, it began to pick up. I was making enough to support us, even if it was just barely. As for my wife, she's trying to make amends. She's been visiting the kids, and we're civil for their sake. But things will never be the same. I'm just trying to move forward, one step at a time, focusing on what's best for my children. Thanks for reading. Aita for feeling relieved when my wife left for a month without telling us. This is confusing and I think just stupid. My wife and I have 3 kids together, 2 girls, 1 boy. These are all our biological children. My kids are at that age where they're finding themselves and learning what their interests actually are. Lots of self-expression. I'm a very open-minded guy, and I don't care what my kids are doing as long as they're healthy, safe, and most importantly, happy. One of my daughters is going through her emo phase. LOL, I had one too at her age. My wife doesn't like this at all. She absolutely despises it and criticizes her every time she sees her with her makeup and black clothes. She wants her to dress normal, in her words. I don't care, like I said. I'm the one who bought my daughter the clothes in the first place. My wife has been doing this thing as of late where, when she's angry, she'll make snide remarks disguised as compliments, and then get offended when called out. I call her out when she does this to our children. I think it's incredibly immature and downright cruel to do to kids, especially our kids. She'll then claim that we're all dogpiling on her, and that she's sorry for being such a concerned mother who wants her kids to be normal. I've had multiple conversations about this with her. I think this is where her behavior came from, but I'm not sure. When she gets mad about the way our kids are dressed now, she says things like, "Look at how your daughter is dressed," and "Go get your son before I say something to him." I don't like this. Our kids are starting to hate their mother for a variety of teenage reasons, and this isn't helping at all. I don't want their relationship to deteriorate because she can't handle a bit of black clothing. My son is the last to figure out his own style, so he's been starting to latch on to his older sister's scents and music. My son was always a mommy's boy before this, so it's driving my wife insane. He painted his nails black last week, and his sister did eyeliner on him, and my wife nearly passed out from shock. This caused her to demand he take it off, scolded our daughter, and made her cry. My wife had then called me while I was at work, telling me that I better come get my kids before she gives them a reason to hate her. I luckily got to go home, and when I got there, it was a bit of a wreck. My son was fuming on the couch, and my 2 daughters were nowhere to be found. When I asked him what happened, my wife came storming out of the kitchen, ripping me a new one for allowing this kind of disrespectful behavior. While she was yelling, my son said that he hated her. She shrieked at me to control my kid, and I could see how hurt my son was to hear that. He went up to his room without a word, and I calmed my wife down enough to get the story in her words before telling her that she can't do that and needs to apologize. She hasn't, as far as I know. She's been giving me the silent treatment ever since, and I'm honestly just tired. I don't give a damn what my kids are wearing or what type of music they're listening to. I know from firsthand experience that if a kid can't do something, they're going to find a way to do it and start lying and sneaking around. And we all know how that can end. I don't want that. I want open communication and a great relationship with everyone. This is stressing me out. How do I get my wife to apologize and stop saying these things? There are kids, and I know this rift is going to only get larger. My wife is beginning to resent me too, I think. Edit. Just to add some things, I would go to war for my kids, LL. My children weren't showing signs of depression, just dabbling with style because it's popular on TikTok. I had a shitty upbringing and vowed to be the best dad I could. I'm trying. I've tried to keep most of this fighting behind closed doors as well. I don't believe in your kids being involved in the fighting between parents. I've been paying close attention to my kids and went out to eat on my day off with my two that are having problems with their mother. I bought my other daughter a new makeup thing for your eyes to show her that I didn't forget about her either. My wife was not always like this. My wife was great with the kids and always a very even-tempered woman. I have no idea where this behavior came from, but it is concerning. She's never mistreated our kids and used to be the proud mommy in the crowd at their school plays. No one is interested in therapy at the moment, but I especially want to get my wife the help I think she needs. She was always a very supportive, positive woman, and that's why I fell in love with her. I do not want a divorce, but if it truly came down to it, I'd be fighting for full custody. I don't care if our kids wear some makeup or goth, gay, into sports, D&D, or whatever else it may be. They're my babies, and I'll fight tooth and nail if it comes down to it. But I pray that it doesn't. I love everyone involved. Now, for a few comments before the update, comment 1. She's performing a very divisive behavior that suggests that when the kids are doing something that she disapproves of, they are no longer family to her. Also known as conditional love. She's also doing that to you with her silent treatment. The way she interacts with you guys is super toxic, and you all would benefit from her getting some therapy and learning a better way to express her discomfort and growing pains. My mom did a lot of stuff like your wife does, and I couldn't stand her. I tried to separate from her as much as possible, and had to get over a lot of self-hatred because of it. Protect your kids. Sorry, couldn't help myself. Comment 2. Time to insist on counseling, I think. Like you said, emo phases are normal. Maybe not her ideal version of normal. But if she insists on picking fights over it when they're not harming anyone, that's just going to create more rebellion. And while it's not great that you're having to have this out in front of the kids, her complaining that everyone's ganging up on her is more immature than anything they're doing. Now, for the update, thanks for sticking around for the latest. So, the tension at home has been through the roof. My wife's behavior has only gotten worse. She's been picking fights over the smallest things, like the way the dishwasher is loaded or how the towels are folded. It's like she's looking for reasons to be mad. And the kids, they're walking on eggshells, trying not to set her off. The other day, my oldest daughter forgot to put her plate in the sink, and my wife just lost it. She started yelling about respect and how no one listens to her. It was intense. My daughter ended up crying in her room, and I had to step in to calm things down. I told my wife that this isn't the way to handle things, but she just stormed off. Now here's the thing. My wife has been spending a lot of time with her sister lately, and I'm starting to wonder if that's influencing her behavior. Her sister has always been the judgmental type, and I've noticed my wife picking up some of those traits. It's like she's a different person after she's been with her. But the real kicker came last week. My wife announced out of the blue that she's going on a trip with her sister. No discussion, no asking how it would affect the family, nothing. Just that she needed time away and would be gone for a month. The kids were shocked, and honestly, so was I. It felt like she was abandoning us. Since she left, things have been oddly peaceful. The kids have been more relaxed, and we've been doing things as a family again. We went to a concert last weekend, and it was great to see them enjoying themselves without worrying about their mom's reaction. But now I'm left wondering, what happens when she comes back? Will things go back to the way they were? Will she have changed? It's like we're all holding our breath, waiting for the other shoe to drop. In the meantime, I've been trying to keep things stable for the kids. I've been more involved in their lives, attending school events, and just being there for them. I want them to know that no matter what, I'm on their side. But I can't shake this feeling of dread about the future. I love my wife, but I can't let her tear this family apart. If things don't change when she gets back, I might have to make some tough decisions. For now, though, I'm just focused on keeping the kids happy and healthy. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.